Ian Machado Garry made his appearance on the Ariel Helwani Show last night, and he had a lot of crazy hot takes to share with us. Simply put, he is delusional, and he had a lot to say, talking about how JDM looks sloppy in this fight with Bilal Muhammad, how Shavkat Rakhmonov doesn't deserve the next title shot, which keep in mind, Shavkat has a win over Ian Garry. We'll get to that later in the video. And also about his prank with the M&Ms and his son. We'll get to all that. There's a lot to discuss throughout this interview. So yeah, without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. We're gonna start off with the first clip. Me and Gary basically stated that JDM looked sloppy in the fifth round of his championship fight with Bilal Muhammad. And when Ariel asked, "Oh, do you think JDM looked sloppy in there?"
Did you think that Jack looked sloppy in there?
So I watched it live, right? Which means I'm watching it through my eyes, which I know how fast I am. I know real time. And I thought both of them looked slow from watching it with my own eyes. Then I watched it back on TV and it was a completely different look. Jack looked a hell of a lot cleaner than he did in person. And he looked a lot faster when you're just watching him versus Bilal. Whereas when you're sat front row, you're watching it. I'm watching it as if I'm in there. That's my mentality. But yeah, I think there was a lot of things Jack did that I thought were quite sloppy. But technically, he was the better striker, so he was going to win that regardless. Bilal.
Okay, I have a couple of things to mention. He just said that JDM looked sloppy in there against Bilal Muhammad, but hey, he's the better striker, so he won. All right. If Ian Garry wants to say that from a technical standpoint, then sure. He is the elite level mixed martial artist. I am just some random guy uh commentating commenting on Ariel Helwani's interview. That being said, I watched his fight with Carlos Prates in the fifth round and compared it side by side with JDM's fifth round with Bilal Muhammad. I don't think Ian Gary's the right person to call someone sloppy in the fifth round. I'm just saying, I know that Ian Garry is, again, he is an elite level UFC fighter. He'll beat me up. He'll beat anybody up who's watching this video. That being said, you watch the fifth round with Carlos Prates and Ian Garry. I don't think Ian Garry should be saying anyone else looks sloppy in the fifth round. All right, I'll let it play. So it turns out I can't play the footage because UFC sent me a copyright strike. So I'm not gonna play the fight, but I don't think that deters from what I'm about to say. I know Ian Garry survives this. But it looks really bad, sloppy, if you will. JDM actually won the fifth round against Bilal. JDM was actually piecing up Bilal in the fifth round. You were nearly finished in the fifth round, Ian Garry. Some might say you were getting your ass beat in the fifth round. Okay, I can't say that for the entire fight. After all, uh, Ian Garry did win at least the first three rounds. That being said, for him to say that someone looked sloppy in the championship rounds of a fight, all right, like I don't see you doing better. You know, okay, JDM, he's fighting a championship fight with Bilal Muhammad in the fifth round. Of course, it's not gonna look like fresh out there. Like they're not going out there like fainting like crazy. And like you're just gonna throw the same shit, hoping that your shit lands more. All right. So for him to call anyone sloppy, I don't think Ian Gary's the right person to say so. But regardless, we're gonna move on to I believe 13 minutes and 32 seconds. Let me find that real quick. All right, this is close enough. All right, so this is where Ian Garry is insinuating that he deserves the next title shot because Shavkat Rakhmonov's been out for a year and Sean Brady's been out for a year. I'll just let the clip play and then tell you guys why I don't agree with what he's saying.
The best in the world. But you've also got this scenario where I fight Sean Brady, right? For example, like you're saying, I fight Sean Brady, I beat Sean Brady, and I'm still not next. because that's how the world works sometimes. And they do give it to Shavkat, who's coming off a year layoff, just like they did to Jack. You know, Jack was off for a year injured. They give him a world title shot. So there is no guarantees. So for me,
Okay. Now, the reason why this irritates me is because it's not. First off, Shavkat Rachmanov isn't coming off a year layoff. You know, he fought. Ian Garry fought Shavkat Rachmanov 6 months ago, and guess what happened in that fight? That's right, Shavkat Rachmanov unanimous decision loss on December 7th, 2024. So this isn't even exactly 6 months. It's a little bit under 6 months. And here is Ian Garry talking as if he won the fight with Shavkat Rachmanov. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think that is pure delusion on Ian Garry's part. You know, if the UFC isn't giving you a title shot over Shavkat Rachmanov, maybe instead of asking, oh, why is the guy who's been inactive getting a title shot? How about you ask, oh, the guy, why is the guy who beat me 6 months ago getting the title shot over me? I'm just saying, Ian Garry. I get that he took the fight on short notice and he did a lot better than what people initially expected. Like myself, I was expecting like a third or fourth round finish from Shavkat, but Ian Garry clearly lost the fight. So I don't want to hear him talking about a title shot. Matter of fact, the only person I would put for a title shot above Ian Garry, or not even Ian Garry, just Shavkat in general, is Sean Brady right now. Sean Brady beat Leon Edwards, former champion, who just lost the belt to Bilal, and like Sean Brady dominated Leon Edwards. And Sean Brady's actually somewhat active. Joaquin Buckley, he's actually somewhat active. He's on a multiple fight win streak. He beat a former champion in Kamaru Usman. Or actually, no, he beat a former interim champion in Colby Covington. If he beats Usman, then I can see why the UFC will pick Joaquin Buckley over Shavkat Rachmanov. They're not gonna give you the title shot when you just lost to Shavkat Rachmanov not that long ago. You see what I mean? And it's not like Ian Garry's built that many wins since then. He beat Carlos Prates, all right? And fair enough, I picked Carlos Prates to beat Ian Garry. But we can't have nice things in life. It is what it is. That's only one win. Joaquin Buckley, if he beats Kamaru Usman, that's 5 wins in a row. And he's going to be ranked higher than you, Ian Garry. Sean Brady, number one contender. He's on like what, a 4-fight win streak. Like, it makes more sense for those guys to get the title shot over Shavkat Rachmanov. It doesn't make sense for you to get the title shot. And that's what's really pissing me off because Ian Garry is talking as if he is undeniable. And even if he beats Sean Brady, we gotta consider, oh, Shavkat did beat you. Like, you gotta go at least on 3 win streaks. Can we make that a rule? Like, unless you're Sean O'Malley, which in that case you're just getting Dana White privilege. Like, you're not getting Dana White privilege. You're not getting any fan privilege. None of the fans really like you. So I don't understand why Ian Garry's talking as if he is must see TV. How like, oh, he should get the title shot just because he's filling in on short notice. Like, not many people want to see you. Like, the welterweight division's fun. And I'm not saying Ian Garry's boring and all that, but when you compare Ian Garry to all the other welterweight prospects, Ian Garry's the least interesting. Like, I'm not saying that has nothing to do with skills, that it's just on pure excitement for when his fights come. Morales, I think he's more interesting. Joaquin Buckley, I think he's more interesting. Like, every welterweight contender that's on the rise right now, I have more fun watching them than Ian Garry. And I think I can attest for a lot of people with that fact. Maybe not everybody, but Ian Garry, out of all the 6 new welterweight prospects, he's the least fun to watch. So I don't want to hear him talk about a title shot after. And if Shavkat Rachmanov returns, we need to give him a title shot over Ian Garry. I'm just gonna say that. It doesn't matter where Shavkat's going to be placed within the title picture, as long as he is ahead of Ian Garry, because after all, he beat Ian Garry, I'll be fine with it. All right. Last but not least, we have the situation with JDM's coach. So JDM had a comment about Ian Garry and his son throughout the UFC 315 fight week. How like Ian Garry was using his son to just place M&Ms around JDM, so like JDM could possibly fill his weight cut. And if you guys haven't heard the press conference, I'll link it down in the description. JDM just basically said that Ian Garry is not even using his real son for that. All right. And Ian Garry didn't take that lightly. I get it, but I'll just let it play. I'll just let it play first and before I give any comments.
What do you make of that response from Ben Vickers?
So let's go off this basis, right? In his last 4 fights, Jack has had 1 finish. So he's telling me I need to get into the gym and I need to start finding some power, right? He got beat up pretty bad. I seen his face. You seen him in the studio. He looked pretty bad, right? And Bilal ain't nowhere near the striker that I am, Ariel. I think we can both agree with that, right?
Yes.
So Bilal ain't nothing compared to me on the feet, but he looked rough when he was in your studio, right?
There were some bruises, yes.
And you looked rough against Carlos Prates. All right. I know this isn't like the exact clip that I said it's going to be. I think it's a little bit later after this statement, but I had to pause it just because I wanted to say this. First off, JDM, if you want to talk about finishes, let's see here. JDM, he has one finish out of his last 4 fights. I think that's one more than you, buddy. You know, every fight you've been in has been a decision. No, you even lost one of them. So I don't want to hear it. I really don't. And if you want to compare the last 5 fights, I'm just saying he has 2 more finishes than Ian Garry. Ian Garry couldn't even finish Neil Magny. I'm just putting it out there. Everyone in the welterweight division has finished Neil Magny at some point, except for Ian Garry. And fair enough, Ian Garry took him to a 30-24 decision, but finish Neil Magny, please. All right, regardless, I'll just let the rest of the clip play because that wasn't what I initially intended to show you guys.
Yeah, I'll bend his nose backwards. I'll bend his nose backwards the way it should be, right? And his coach should stay out of this, right? My son giving him M&Ms was a playful, harmful joke about having a laugh about him missing weight. It was all good. It was all a bit of banter. I'm not flying around the world trying to be a superstar, trying to be someone famous. I'm flying around the world ready to fight. And if I'm needed, I'll show up and I'll do what I need to do, which is fight. And if he's the champion, I'll take the belt from his hands.
In your opinion, did he cross the line with his comment at the press conference?
All right. Before I let this continue, okay, Ian Garry, how do I say this? Most of us did not think it was a playful joke, and maybe to you it was. Maybe to you it was. After all, it's a little kid that's just handing JDM M&Ms. Very wholesome. Most of us found it more annoying. I think that includes JDM. And it's not I don't think it's playful banter. I think it's more of a troll job. I think it's something that a troll would do necessarily. So I don't know, maybe you guys thought it was like just playful banter. I You could put it like that, but I think most of us found it more annoying. So, because let's be honest, people wanted to see JDM versus Bilal Muhammad, and for Ian Garry to come out of the woodworks and to just try his best to disrupt the fight is more annoying than, I guess, more playful banter. But carry on.
What do you think?
I would imagine I would imagine
No,
you
no,
weren't.
no.
I'll be honest.
Not me. What do you think?
Yes. I would imagine you were not happy. I would imagine you would be offended. I would
No,
also.
I'm asking you what do you think about the comments.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not asking you whether you think I was offended. I'm saying what do you think as a father and as
100%. I
a
don't.
reporter and a presenter of MMA. What do you think about it?
As a father, first and foremost, I don't like when family gets involved. I don't like when kids. We've talked about this, but then
Not necessary.
and that's the period. That's it. I do.
100%.
I do, and I didn't even ask him about it because I didn't want to bring up the can of worms. But since we're
And I
going down
love
this,
that. I appreciate that.
but the only thing is that once it's a double-edged sword because your son is on camera and you guys are proud of him and he's interacting with the fighters. So then sometimes someone could say like, if you're going to put him out there to have playful banter, guys are going to take it in different directions. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not defending it. I just want you to know.
No, of course I know you're not. I never would assume that you are. I never would assume that you are. Let's make that abundantly clear. Well, that's why I asked you, what do you think? There's a playful joke about a child giving a fighter M&Ms with the
Yep.
kind of like baseline comedy of take these, eat these, miss weight, my daddy will step in and win a world title. That's just a laugh, right? It's low level, right? Then going out and saying the comments that he said is just immature, and it shows that he's very sensitive because if he says something like that, which is net, that's out of his character, which means that what I was doing on fight week irritated him enough to trigger him to say something like that, which means when I do fight him, Ariel, I'm going to open up a whole can of irritation because I reckon he's mentally weak. I can get in his head, right? But I'll never stoop so low as to mention his child and his children and his wife because I don't need to.
Okay, that's interesting to say just now. Okay, fair enough. Maybe, of course, Ian Garry. It is his son. Technically, I'm not gonna get into the details about that. A whole weird marriage, but regardless, Ian Garry. Of course, he would be offended on his son's behalf, as, and I get that why he would be offended. The problem I have with Ian Garry is just now when he said that he's never gonna stoop so low as to bringing in children and the wives of the fighters. Here's a little clip of what Ian Garry had to say about Neil Magny. Neil Magny, if you guys don't know, back in August of 2023 when they were fighting each other, Neil Magny, he said a joke about how, oh, because I'm a father, I'm accustomed to giving ass whoopings, and I'm gonna discipline Ian Machado Garry by giving him an ass whooping. All right, is it the best joke? Maybe not, but for what Ian Garry has to say about this, I find it very hypocritical and distasteful. We're gonna let it play.
Hands on a child ever.
You know exactly.
Yesterday you
know
said
for a fact I'm not putting hands on a
yesterday
child.
you said I'm a father. I've been accustomed to that type of beating.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm gonna whoop that ass on Saturday.
You can play
You'll do
victim all you
fucking
want.
nothing. You'll sit there, you'll shut up, and you'll do what you're told.
All right, maybe that wasn't the exact. All right, but my point is, Ian Garry, he took that whole joke about, oh, I discipline my kids by just like giving them a little bit of an ass whooping, and he just insinuated that Neil Magny beats his children. All right, you can find more. You can find more detailed clips about this later if you want to look up on your own time. But the point I'm trying to say is, you can't be doing shit like this and then simultaneously, uh, getting offended that someone's mentioning your kids in life. I'm sorry. I don't think maybe that's not the same values, okay? Maybe what JDM said is a lot worse in some people's eyes, but I don't see it that way. Ian Garry, he's always been the guy to trash talk, and he, like you saw there, he brings up kids, and it's not beneath him. All right, he's done it before. And for someone else to kind of do the same thing and for Ian Garry to be offended, I find that very hypocritical and I find that quite retarded. because Ian Gary should be the last person to be offended by these jokes. And yeah, that I think that's why Ian Gary's delusional, you know? He can't accept reality that someone beat him and therefore should deserve a title shot before him. He calls JDM sloppy while simultaneously looking like he's about to die against Carlos Prates in the 5th round. And he gets very defensive when his children and his wife is being brought up. But he is perfectly fine with bringing up other people's children and wife. All right. I just find those very hypocritical. I don't like Ian Gary. I think I made that abundantly clear. And honestly, I think this is why Ian Gary is unlikable. You know, this whole interview with Ariel Helwani summed up why Ian Gary. I just don't like him as a as a prospect. As a prospect. All right, that's gonna be it for today's video. Leave a comment down below if you agree that Ian Machado Gary is delusional. And also leave a comment down below if you like Ian Gary for some reason, because I honestly can't understand why people like Ian Gary. Like, I know he talks trash, but the way he talks trash, it doesn't line up with what we're seeing. And that's my big problem with him. But maybe there's some other redeeming quality about Ian Gary that I don't really see. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.